The little cardboard sign that read, "Room for Rent," had been hanging outside Owen Carter's modest home for only 3 hours when fate quietly walked through his front gate. By sunset, the woman carrying nothing more than a single suitcase and a tired smile would change not only his life, but the future of his daughter, his broken family, and even the billionaire father she had spent years trying to escape. But Owen had no idea that the quiet college student standing on his porch wasn't poor at all. She was the only daughter of one of the richest men in America. Before we begin this emotional journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Journey of Kindness if you believe that one act of compassion can change someone's life forever. Your support helps us continue bringing heartfelt stories like this to the world. Owen Carter was only 39, but the years had aged him far beyond his birthday. 4 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a long battle with cancer, leaving him alone to raise his 8-year-old daughter, Hazel. Since then, every day had been a careful balancing act between working long shifts as a maintenance technician, helping Hazel with school, cooking dinner, paying bills, and pretending everything was going to be okay even when he knew it wasn't. Money disappeared faster than it arrived. Medical debt from his wife's treatments still followed him like a shadow, and rising mortgage payments threatened to take away the only home Hazel remembered. Owen refused to complain because he believed children deserved hope, not worry. Every evening he smiled through exhaustion so his daughter would never notice the fear hiding behind his eyes. When the bank sent its final warning, Owen realized he had no choice left except to rent out the spare bedroom that had once belonged to his late wife. It felt like giving away another piece of his memories, but keeping the house mattered more than holding onto empty rooms. The advertisement was simple: affordable room, quiet neighborhood, shared kitchen, students welcome. He expected dozens of calls from desperate renters. Instead, only one person showed up. Her name was Maren Holloway. She looked no older than 21, wearing plain jeans, white sneakers, and carrying a backpack that looked as though it had traveled thousands of miles. Her dark hair was tied back casually, and despite her graceful appearance, there was nothing flashy about her. No designer bags, no expensive jewelry, no luxury car waiting outside. She introduced herself as a university student studying architecture who needed somewhere peaceful to finish her final year after transferring schools. There was something unusually calm about her. She answered every question politely without oversharing. She didn't negotiate the rent. She didn't ask for special treatment. More importantly, Hazel smiled the moment she met her. Children often noticed goodness before adults did. Within a week, Maren had quietly become part of the household rhythm. She always cleaned the kitchen after dinner, never left dishes behind, and somehow managed to help Hazel with homework whenever Owen worked late. She never acted like she was doing anyone a favor. She simply helped. Hazel adored her almost immediately. The lonely little girl who had stopped laughing after losing her mother slowly began smiling again. She loved watching Maren sketch beautiful buildings and landscapes in her notebook, often trying to copy the drawings herself. One rainy afternoon, Owen returned home expecting silence. Instead, he heard laughter. Real laughter. Hazel and Maren were baking cookies together, both covered in flour from head to toe. The kitchen was a complete disaster, but for the first time in years, it felt alive again. Owen stood in the doorway longer than either of them realized. It had been years since his house sounded like a home. As autumn settled over the neighborhood, Maren continued attending classes during the day while working evenings at the university library. Owen often wondered how she managed tuition, books, rent, and living expenses without ever complaining. She lived carefully, too carefully. Sometimes he noticed her skipping dinner, pretending she had already eaten on campus. Other times she wore the same jacket despite freezing temperatures. Owen quietly added extra food to the grocery list without mentioning it. Kindness didn't always require words. Unknown to Owen, Maren carried secrets far heavier than unpaid tuition. She wasn't struggling because she lacked money. She was struggling because she refused to touch it. Her father, Victor Holloway, owned one of the largest international investment companies in the country. Newspapers regularly called him one of the youngest billionaires in American history. Private jets, luxury estates, global influence. Everything money could buy. Everything except his daughter's respect. After Maren's mother died during her teenage years, Victor buried himself deeper into business. Meetings replaced birthdays. Contracts replaced conversations. Assistants delivered gifts worth thousands of dollars while their father never appeared. Eventually, every expensive present became another reminder that love couldn't be purchased. The final argument happened just months before Maren left home. She refused to accept the luxurious future her father had planned. She wanted to build affordable housing for struggling families rather than manage another billion-dollar corporation. Victor dismissed the dream as childish. She packed one suitcase and walked away. She disabled every luxury credit card connected to the family accounts. She wanted to know whether people would value her for who she truly was, not for the Holloway fortune. Back at Owen's home, nobody knew any of this. To them, Maren was simply a hard-working student trying to survive. And that was exactly how she wanted it. Winter arrived early that year. Heating costs climbed. Owen picked up weekend shifts repairing office buildings while Hazel stayed with Maren after school. The young college student never complained about babysitting. Instead, she turned ordinary afternoons into adventures. They built cardboard castles, painted tiny flower pots, read adventure novels together. Sometimes they simply sat on the porch wrapped in blankets watching snow fall while sipping hot chocolate. Hazel slowly started talking about her mother again. Not with sadness, with gratitude. One evening she quietly admitted something that nearly broke Owen's heart. She told Maren she had been afraid to love anyone else because she thought it meant forgetting her mom. Maren gently explained that love never replaced love. It simply made the heart bigger. Owen overheard every word from the hallway. That night, after Hazel had fallen asleep, he sat alone in the living room thinking about how much one stranger had changed their lives without asking for anything in return. For the first time in years, hope no longer felt impossible. Then everything changed. At the university, one of Maren's classmates accidentally recognized her while researching famous business families. An old magazine cover showed Victor Holloway standing beside his teenage daughter. The resemblance was unmistakable. Within days, rumors spread across campus. Students whispered. Some accused her of pretending to be poor for attention. Others believed she was conducting some strange social experiment. Someone secretly photographed her walking home carrying groceries. The picture appeared online beside headlines asking why a billionaire's daughter lived in a rented room. The internet did what it often does. It judged before understanding. Reporters soon arrived outside Owen's quiet neighborhood. Television vans parked across the street. Neighbors gathered behind curtains. Owen returned from work completely confused. He found cameras surrounding his front yard. Microphones pointed toward his front door. Questions flew from every direction. Was it true? Did he know? Had the billionaire family been secretly living here? Only then did Owen hear the name Victor Holloway. He looked toward Maren. She stood frozen on the porch. Tears quietly filled her eyes. Not because the truth had been discovered. Because the peaceful life she had finally built was about to disappear. That evening the house felt painfully silent. Hazel didn't understand why strangers were shouting outside. Owen gently asked Maren whether everything they were saying was true. She looked down for several moments before finally nodding. Then she told him everything. About her mother. About the loneliness inside giant mansions. About choosing ordinary life instead of inherited wealth. About wanting someone to know the real Maren before knowing her last name. When she finished, she expected anger. Instead, Owen simply poured her a cup of coffee. He quietly said that the size of someone's bank account had never mattered to him. The only thing he had ever seen was a kind young woman who treated his daughter like family. Nothing else had changed. Maren couldn't stop crying. For the first time since leaving home, someone believed her character mattered more than her fortune. The next morning, another unexpected visitor arrived. A long black luxury car slowly stopped outside the house. An older man stepped out wearing an expensive overcoat. Victor Holloway himself had come. He looked at the small house with visible disbelief. He had imagined his daughter staying in some stylish apartment. Instead, she had been living in a modest neighborhood where every dollar mattered. When Maren opened the front door, years of silence stood face to face. Neither of them spoke immediately. Victor noticed family photographs covering the walls. Children's drawings hanging on the refrigerator. A repaired dining table polished with care instead of replaced with something expensive. The house possessed something every mansion he owned lacked. Warmth. For several long minutes, he simply watched Owen helping Hazel zip her winter coat before school. No assistants. No staff. Just an exhausted father doing his best. Something inside the billionaire quietly shifted. He suddenly realized the greatest lesson his daughter had ever learned about family wasn't taught inside one of his luxury estates. It had been learned inside a rented room. Before we reach the ending, if this story has touched your heart so far, please like the video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Journey of Kindness. Stories like these remind us that kindness often comes from ordinary people living extraordinary lives. Special request. Before the ending, comment below. Kindness sees the heart, not the wallet. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Victor slowly admitted that money had allowed him to build companies across continents, but it had never taught him how to be present for the people he loved most. Watching Owen sacrifice everything for Hazel made him understand that true wealth wasn't measured in billions, it was measured in the moments shared around a small dinner table, the comfort offered during hard times, and the quiet kindness given without expecting anything in return. Months later, Victor quietly established a foundation to build affordable housing designed by young architects, placing Maren in charge of the project. Owen was offered a leadership position overseeing community construction, allowing him to leave behind exhausting night shifts while still earning his success honestly. Hazel, once afraid of losing the only home she had left, watched her future fill with hope instead of fear. The little room for rent sign eventually came down, but its purpose had already been fulfilled. It had not simply rented a room. It had opened a door for broken hearts to find one another, proving that sometimes the greatest miracles arrive carrying nothing more than a suitcase, a kind smile, and a willingness to love strangers like family. And in the end, everyone discovered the same beautiful truth. The richest people are not always those who possess the most money, but those who never stop making room in their hearts for others.